So this is back before I decided to actualize and like make my dreams come true. One of the big things with this is that I was actually went to prison for marijuana crimes, got out of prison. Everything had been legalized, so I decided to go back to marijuana because it was pretty much the world that I knew, and uh, this farm in particular was the last one that I was on before I ended up getting my bus. And this is pretty much the beginning of harvest time. I had just gotten the bus, just paid for it from a good friend of mine, and decided to start revamping it so that I could take it to Mexico. And this is before Audrey, and this is kind of a stage in my life where it was really difficult to really kind of settle in with what had all transpired after a bad relationship, and after not knowing exactly where I was going, thinking I had a really great job to stay at, and I thought I was going to be living at this place and growing with this person for a long time, and it ended up not being the reality. But it was really wonderful because it paved the way for something a little, deeper. So after this, pretty much as during a harvest season, you'll see that there's a lot of bigger plants. This is just the small stuff. The bigger stuff that we got going, actually, we got in really late that year, and it was an okay harvest. It wasn't anything to write home about, but it would have been much nicer if we could have got in even earlier. But it was good for what it was. Now this is a 400 time fast forward, and it would be nice to go a little faster, but I don't want to disorient you guys. Basically, this entire process was, we pretty much gutted the entire thing. There used to be a bathroom in this bus, and I ended up taking out everything, essentially. And then the top panels that we paint red a little bit later, you'll see that we ended up pulling those. When I was pulling them, there was a mouse that was living in there, and we ended up pretty much evicting him. Didn't have to kill him, which was really nice. So that ended up happening like that. And this is pretty much the scraping and painting and building of the way the bus is set now. It's in fast forward, so you'll get a chance to see the whole thing transpire. It's a kind of fun little video. We ended up putting a skylight in when we visited my friend Mark Dial. Ended up redoing the roof. It was just a really wonderful little experience. It was my first bus actually revamping, and it took about, let's say, close to a week. But it's really funny looking back at this footage, after we've been so far and seen so much. And I was planning on putting this out a lot sooner, but it's just been such a crazy ride. Kind of wanted to get you guys going with what we've been doing, and then kind of backtrack and kind of show you where it all came from. I think one of the biggest things for me to make that step forward was just being fearless in the endeavor. I think that a lot of times we get all up in our heads and we start to really question our thoughts, question our motives in our life in general. And this whole project was basically, it was a brainchild. It was an idea, and I've always thought I was special, so I wanted to drive a short bus, and I've gotten that opportunity. So this short bus actually means a lot to me. It was actually technically my first home, and since this revamp, this is kind of a revamp for a fire dancer. It's all red and black, the entire thing, and all the props were hanging from everything when it was all said and done. But Audrey and I ended up, when we got together, ended up spending another week revamping the whole thing again and making it much more beautiful. It's kind of funny because everybody kind of looked at it like it was like a BDSM dungeon when they came and checked it out. It was even funnier because Audrey's like, red and black BDSM dungeons are so 90s. We're in the 2000s, so now it's gold and turquoise and, just absolutely beautiful in general. And we're really stoked to show you guys actually how it all turned out after this You know, probably won't be in this video, but it'll be in another future one. So I'm gonna let you check out the process, and I'm just gonna stop talking now. Well, at least for a minute. So you know, I would say that this is probably one of the most fun projects that I've ever done. And it's the reason why is because it all came along so quickly, and there was a completion. And when you complete it, it's even cooler because you can drive around and, you know, show it to people. It doesn't have to be stationary. It's not like an actual home that stays where it's, you know, stays put. So it was really nice to be able to show it off and take it to festivals and do all that kind of stuff. Although it didn't see as many festivals as I would like, it's still kind of the forerunner for what's going to happen in on our space to be our festival center to begin with. We're going to be sleeping in this bus, and as I'll be building all of the rest of the getting the infrastructure set up on the mango farm with the you know, water and sewer and all those kinds of things that we're going to be setting up. It's gonna be really nice. So I think that, you know, getting this whole thing set up was really wonderful. But I think the biggest part about this whole situation was once we had the bus squared away, and then we had the funds to really start traveling around and stuff, it was just like this really uncanny sense of freedom that you just don't get anywhere else. It was unbelievable. You know, I've heard of bus life and van life for a long time, and when it actually came to happen, when it came to pass, it was just this beautiful thing where, you know, you become a nomad and you can go anywhere and do anything. And we spent a lot of time on the coast. We spent a lot of time pretty much just traveling all over the place, and it was really wonderful because you could just pull off to the side of the road when you get tired, and you could just go to bed, you know, if you ever need to. One of the funniest things is finding places to park. That was one of the big issues, and another thing that ended up making us really, you know, really want to leave the United States was everything. I mean, you could pay $750 a month to park someplace, or you could just go somewhere in the world where you don't have to pay a buttload to park. And I think that was the biggest thing for me, one of the biggest drawbacks. I thought that once we got the bus life going, that there was a potential possibility to stay in, you know, the northern states and United States in general. But then it was crazy because, you know, I've got a lot of friends and a lot of family, and it was very few and far between for anybody to let us stay on their property for any duration of time, or even in general. I mean, I felt like I almost had to beg people to be able to stay because I was saving to possibly go to Mexico. But in general, it was a really disorienting feeling to not feel welcome. It was like, you know, there's all this property and all this land, and everybody's got property for cows and horses and, you know, all of their extra vehicles and things like that, you know, but they don't have any extra property for friends to stay, especially ones that are, you know, being good and social and help out and do all those kinds of things. It was really hard for me actually to take that, you know, I don't really want to harp on that, but it just felt like one of those things where it just felt like I was no longer welcome, you know, being born and raised in the valley, the Rogue Valley, and then not having, you know, a place to land when I had the bus finished was just really sad. You know, there were people that did say that it was okay. There was a couple, but they were so far out that it made it really difficult. You know, I didn't want to have to like drive 40 minutes to get into town. You know, that's not really what I was really after, especially since I was finishing my school at Southern University. So it's kind of like one of these experiences to It was eye-opening, really. You know, it's funny because since we've gone down to Mexico, we've literally had family fighting over where we're gonna stay. You know, wanting to let us stay everywhere and not even pay anything. And it's really interesting to have that dynamic. You know, Mexico seems like it's a lot different. It's a very different place. It's much more wholesome, I feel, in a lot of ways. And I'm really excited about, you know, getting down there to be with family and see how that side of the world really lives. I want to experience the culture that I was born into but never raised as a part of. And I think that's really probably the most mystifying part about this whole situation, is that we decided to do something and we took a chance and we got out there, and this bus was the vehicle that supported that lifestyle change. And I'd love to do so much more with it, but I'm actually thinking about raffling it off in the near future to somebody who would love it and want it, and who would take care of it. And we're thinking, we'll see what ends up happening. Not really sure, but it's a very plausible thing to have it be raffled off. So I really hope you guys enjoy this video. I think that's all I have to say about the subject for the moment. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave you with watching the rest of the restoration. This isn't the rest of the restoration, but this is a portion of it. So I would say the most difficult part of this restoration really wasn't the actual restoration process itself. It was more along the lines of the mental disconnect that I created while I was actually making this. Or while I was doing this. So one of the big things was disconnecting from the world that you're a part of is a difficult thing, but I think that when you go through something like this, you know that you're going through like some monumental life changes. It was almost like a midlife crisis. Kind of felt like, I think the biggest one was leaving the trade that I knew for so many years. I spent my 20s in the marijuana industry. It's kind of a fluke accident on how I even got busted. Kind of the universe just wanted me to go a different direction is what I really mark it up to, considering it's part of the craziest story that I could ever even imagine. I can't even believe it's happened the way that it did sometimes. But that's what makes life really interesting, is those times that you don't anticipate. It's when life throws you those curveballs, or those, or you run over one of those topes and just destroy your trailer. It's those kinds of moments that really define people. I think defines your character especially. It's like how you deal with the craziness in life. How do you deal with the insanity that comes your way? Because everybody gets it. I mean, there's nobody that's impervious to the insanity. It doesn't matter how happy-go-lucky you are. You still have to deprogram yourself. I think the hardest part was actually going through the mental deprogramming process, which I'm still actually working on. Both Audrey and I are working on that now. We come from families that are very very uninformed, which is the saddest part, and there's so much stuff out there and people don't know what to believe and what not to believe when it comes to vaccinations or, war, or just everything in general. There's politics. It's like there's so much that there is out there to be disconnected from. It feels like the one thing that I've really found as a saving grace in the end is not wearing shoes. And I know that sounds super crazy, but barefoot is like the way to go. I feel so much more grounded that way, and It sounds like the stupidest thing ever, but it's the truth. I mean, I feel really grounded, you know, and, you know, there's all these frequencies flying through the air, and when you wear rubber-soled shoes, you're not grounded at all, you know, it just passes straight through you. But when you don't wear rubber-soled shoes and you're just wearing your feet on the ground, you know, you're all those different waves are actually passing into your body and down into the ground and being grounded. So it's super healthy for you, and your feet and your hands absorb tons of nutrients. So basically anything you touch in general with your feet or your hands, you're sucking into your body. You become a part of everything you touch. So it's really crazy to be able to look back and think on this whole endeavor and what was really going through my mind at the time. You know, it was a disconnect. You know, I was leaving the life that I knew and I was going to something different. And I'm looking back at it now, and I'm sitting in my home in Cabo with my lovely fiance up there working on her computer and stuff. And it's crazy because just looking back at it, it's like I wouldn't change it for the world, you know. It all transpired exactly the way that it was meant to. I still get frustrated and I'm still kind of crazy in a lot of ways, and you know, I fall short a lot of times. But I'm doing my best every day to just be a better person. And I honestly feel that once we get to the Tepic, the Nayarit, the Atanalisco mango spot, that everything's going to completely change once again. Because we're really going to be in a world where we can grow our own crops and we don't really have to pay rent. And, you know, everything's already, all we have to, you know, if we want to go to town, I mean, gas is probably going to be the most expensive thing we've got. And if we really wanted to, we could spend $1.50. I guess the Comvies have gone up. Combi is just like a little, it's like a taxi basically. That's not really a taxi. It's like really cheap. It's like $1.50 to go from there to there, you know? And I think that it's going to be really wonderful to experience this area and then be able to make a mark on the world, you know, leave a legacy behind for the future generations. Not just our children, but our children's children, and, you know, maybe some children who haven't had a lot in their life. You know, we've been really pondering the idea of possibly adopting, so we'll see how this whole thing transpires and what ends up happening. But I think that this step, the bus life step, was the first step in the right direction. You know, it was like making a choice and sticking to it. I think that's one of the biggest ones. It's like if you say you're going to do something, you do it. If you make a choice, stick to it and do it. You know, that's one of the biggest things that I found. You know, that's why people actually, I feel like that's a lot of the reason why people actually honor me as the person that I am, is because I'm very open and honest about, you know, if I say I'm going to do something, damn it, I do it. You know? And I don't say things lightly, even though I talk a lot. It's, yeah, this gecko's literally laughing at me right now. He thinks it's so funny. Anywho, you guys are awesome. I love your faces. I hope to see you soon. I really do hope that you come down to the property on the mangoes. And I'm really excited about spinning fire and showing you guys some new cool stuff and showing you where we're living and, you know, the culture of Mexico. The real Mexico. Not the hotel culture. You know, the one that people don't ever see because they don't ever go there. Hey everybody, I'm JK Meadows, and I'm here at the bus right now. We're in Talent, Oregon, actually technically Phoenix, Oregon, and we are starting something new called hashtag log the change. Okay? So we got this new trailer that has all the things that our bus doesn't have. So I kind of wanted to show you guys what's going on in here before we get started and get into this thing and actually redo the whole thing. So it's a 1984 Comfort trailer. They've taken pretty good care of it. They used it for their guests and things. And the interior needs a little bit of work. Of course, it's not so bad, but it could be a lot better. So this is what it looks like before. The linoleum, the weird wallpaper. The crazy 1980s upholstery job, and it's in really good condition, but there's a whole lot of things that we're gonna have to do to make this thing livable in the way that we want it to be. So hoping you guys like the transformation, and once again, this new hashtag is called Log the Change. You guys are awesome, and I look forward to making another one of these real soon with the finished product.
Oh no! Oh well, I'll take this.
I know, it's looking wonderful.
Wanted to put some window tint on these windows here before we go to Country Fair, and I was just showing you Audriauna Corazon De Fuego and letting you know that she's coming along nicely. That's kind of why I haven't been putting anything on here lately, is because we just want to get this finished and done so that we can continue moving forward and go down to Mexico. And then once we get down to Mexico, we're actually going to start a fire dancing community. It's pretty much going to be super epic and awesome. So I hope you guys have a wonderful day. It's good to see you again. And if you want to get close here, you can see what I'm doing here. So I put a protective sheath over this guy real quick here, so that when I squeegee, it won't actually damage the chrome mirror tint. And you want to push the water to the edges. There's a bunch of steps that I didn't actually show you guys. I just wanted to kind of show you the whole thing. But Audrey's going to go around and show you what's been done and how it looks. So we'll see you guys later.
Yeah. So we did this side over the last couple of days. And basically the goal is to be able to fire perform in front of it. It's got a mirror tint on it so that it'll reflect the flames. So